All right, I'm about to do something pretty cringy. I'm going to watch myself play a guitar solo and then critique myself for the sake of education. My student, Kelly, is working on a song, What's Up, by Four Non Blondes, and she's planning on taking a solo during the song. And she wanted some help about how to improvise a cool melody for her solo. So she asked me to play my own solo over the chord changes to What's Up and then critique myself. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to hate every moment of it, but I'm doing it for you, Kelly, and for everyone else. So let's start the cringy vibe. Here we go. I'm going to first watch it all the way through, then rewind it and kind of talk about some of the moments in the solo. Here we go. Okay, all right. So yeah, that kind of hurts. Let's start with the negative, just general negative stuff. Get that out of the way, all right? I thought my vibrato was too fast, which pains me because I've been working on slowing down my vibrato, but it's still too fast. I want to slow it down. Also, I want to make the notes in some cases longer than I made them just there. They don't live and bloom as long as they should. Sometimes I get a little bit anxious about the next note, I guess, and I kill the note I'm on a bit too soon. So I got to work on that. So definitely a couple things to work on. The positives, though, is that I felt like the solo was listenable, like my note choices were good ones. I don't think that I was, self-indulgent, meandering. I thought the solo made sense in general. Overall, I think it's very listenable. Is it inspiring? Probably not, but it definitely fit the vibe of the song. So there you go. So let's talk about some details on this. So let's hit play and see what I play first. All right, so that thing, again, I'm not really thinking about anything while I'm playing this solo. I'm not thinking note by note. I'm trying not to think at all. That's like tip number one. Don't think. If you're thinking, you're stinking. That is a good piece of advice. You want to practice so that you don't have to think during your solos. So I'm not really thinking through a lot of this, but watching it back again, I know where this is coming from. This is a BB-ism. This is a BB box thing, okay? This song's in A, and so the note A can be found on the B string at the 10th fret, and I'm playing this little 4-note major pentatonic box. I guess you can say it's a 5-note box if you include the G string. So I'm playing from there, and I'm using one of the advantages of this box is that even though the notes are technically 1, 2, 4, 5, you can get the third of the key by bending the 2 a whole step. Okay, so I bent it a whole step up to there. So you can get 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, and you can also get the 6. Okay, so you can get the 6 there as well. So you can get 6 of the 7 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Little flat on that last one. 6 of the 7 notes. Just with those 4 starting notes. Okay, which is kind of cool. So what I'm doing is I'm bending the B to C sharp. The reason why I'm doing that is because the first chord is an A, and the third of the A chord, root third, fifth, root third, is a C sharp. So I'm playing on the C sharp. I'm playing on the third of the chord, and that sounds sweet. Now, I'm not thinking about this when I'm soloing. I've just trained a lot for my playing over the thirds because I think it sounds nice when you play on thirds. So I've been working over the years on finding thirds of chords and kind of highlighting them whenever I can. So I hear thirds really well now. So when I hear an A chord, I gravitate towards that as opposed to just playing the A straight. Now, there's nothing wrong with the A, the root of the chord, but the third just is a bit sweeter in my opinion. So it's nice to emphasize it a bit more. So that's what I'm doing. I'm bending the 2 of the key, which is B, to the third C sharp of the chord. All right, let's keep on watching. All right, so I played the same thing twice in a row. So I played the same motif twice in a row. And I did that because I think it's just a good thing to do in general, to repeat yourself whenever you hear yourself play something cool. That kind of stitches the solo together in a sensible way, so it doesn't sound like you're rambling. I definitely don't want to sound like I'm rambling my way or meandering my way through the solo. I want the solo to sound cohesive and listenable, and that's a good tip, I think, is to try to play the things that you like a second time, or maybe even a third time, and add little variations on them. And that'll kind of pull the solo together. And it also takes the pressure off that you have to come up with a bazillion brand new ideas through the course of your solo. You only need half a dozen or so ideas that you're creating variations of, if that makes sense. All right. All right, so when I watched this back the first time, that was surprising to me. I was not aware that I played that as I was playing it. Sorry. That little thing. That's something that really came from deep within my kind of guitar playing psyche. I was not thinking about doing that at all. But I know where it came from. It came from my practice. I try to practice playing along one string. So instead of always playing your scales, across the strings, sometimes it's good to play along one string. That way you get a different picture of the same notes. And when you play along one string, it allows you to transport your hand to different portions of the neck in a musical way. And you think about the notes in a different way when you are not going across the strings like that. When the notes are organized along one string, you can think about them in new ways. All right, and you'll probably come up with different melodic ideas just because the notes are along one string rather than strewn across multiple strings. And then lastly, slides sound cool. So use them to your advantage. They add a different texture than plucking the notes or using hammer-ons and pull-offs. Use some slides. And so if you learn a scale along one string, you can really bring slides into your playing and add some of that. So that's what I did in the practice room. And hey, it paid off in the terms of that it just kind of appeared in my solo without any forethought. So cool. All right, let's keep on going. All right, so there I was borrowing something from Derek Trucks. I know exactly where this came from, and that's Derek Trucks. He does this cool thing on the slide, slide guitar. He plays slide. For those of you who don't know, slide electric guitar on a Gibson SG. Amazing. He does this thing where he goes, sounds so cool. What he's doing in the case of a major key is he's going from the 2 and sliding very quickly up to the 3rd of the key. So in this case, B to C sharp. So in a way, this is like what we played earlier. So B to C sharp, and then back to B, and then all the way down to A to the root. So it's definitely a Derek Trucks-ism that I'm borrowing from. You could say I'm stealing from him, and that's okay, because I stole, and you should too. Steal often. Good players steal. So I try to steal as much as I can. So that's where that came from. And then later on, I did that. Now this is the first case of the minor pentatonic scale making an appearance, and I knew this was going to happen because, one, I'm a blues player, and bluesy. I'm not a blues player really, but I like bluesy things. And two, I heard the guitarist in the song do this at the end of the intro solo. They played some bluesy stuff there too, so I'm like, yes, I have full license to do it myself. So I'm gonna play some bluesy stuff too. So, what is bluesy stuff in this context? What I did is, for the first time, I introduced the minor third of the key. So in the key of A, typically you'd have the first 3 notes be A, B, C sharp. But the C sharp is what's called a major third, and that sounds wonderful. We've been playing it so far a lot. But if you want to add a bluesy quality to what you're playing, you can take that C sharp and lower it by a half step to make it C natural. So now you have what's called a minor third. It immediately sounds like a minor key when you do that, which is kind of cool. So we're blending in some minor elements into the solo when I do this. Now, I didn't do the slidey thing to bring in that C natural. I did a bendy thing. I'm bending the note B into a C to create like a little bit of a bluesy flavor. So the moral of that story is the minor third of a major key, in this case C on an A, sounds bluesy. So if you have a bluesy thing in mind, play that. Play your minor thirds. All right, let's keep on going. So I'm continuing this bluesy thing by moving into pattern 1 minor pentatonic scale. Here at the 5th fret. Now, up in the previous measure or so, I was down here in pattern 1 of the major pentatonic scale. I was playing A major. But now I'm fully committed to this bluesy sound, so I'm playing the minor pentatonic scale in A. Notice that they're both A. It's A major, A minor. I'm changing the tonality of the scale that I'm playing, which is cool. That's something you can do. You can do this, right? Do it. In the right context, it'll sound amazing. It may sound out of place in some places, but in this case, it sounds great because the original song had it. So I'm going to do it. So I'm playing A minor pentatonic scale here briefly, and I introduce yet another bluesy note, which is the flat 5. So in the minor pentatonic scale, we have the root A, then we have C and D, and then E, and then G, and then we have A again. But you can take that note D, instead of going directly to E, you can play D, D sharp, or E flat before going to E. D, E flat, E. You could totally do that. That E flat is what we would call a flat 5, and the flat 5 is a very bluesy note. You play it, especially if you mix in some minor thirds in there, like we already talked about, and you have a recipe for some pretty cool bluesy playing. So that's what I'm doing there. I'm committed to the minor pentatonic scale, and I'm introducing some of that, flat 5 business into my playing to keep the bluesy stuff going. Okay, so here I start to transport my way back up the neck to where I began. Now, if that sounds familiar to you, it certainly does to me. I know exactly where that came from. I spent some time, a long time ago, learning the solo to You Shook Me All Night Long by AC/DC, and that's where that's coming from. In the early part of that solo, you hear that. Something like that. Well, that little walk up, through pattern 2 into that BB box is one that's always stuck with me, and it makes its appearance from time to time, and it made its appearance just now. So as soon as I saw myself do that, I was like, I know where that came from. I stole it from Angus Young, AC/DC. So now I'm here, back where I started. So let's see what I play once I'm up here. So I'm playing that major pentatonic scale BB box stuff again. All right, so nothing surprising there. So I missed this one. Okay, so I wish I had a do-over, but I do not. That's what I meant to play. Okay, so that's a BB-ism, but this time it's a BB-ism that is minor pentatonic scale based. So that's your 5th, your flat 5, then your 4, hammered to your 5, and then pulled back off to your 4. Okay, and then that's your flat 3 or your minor third that we talked about before. That's C natural. Okay, and that's your bluesy sound. I have my flat 5, my flat 3 or minor 3, and then I'm resolving back to the A. So again, I'm returning back to the minor pentatonic scale again. I'm going back to a more of a bluesy sound towards the end of this solo. All right, let's hear what I play. I remember what I play. It's cheesy. This is cheesy. Let's hit play on cheese mode. Yes, I did the BB thing where you play the root an octave higher. It's a cliche for sure, and I played it, and I'm a bit ashamed of it now. But yeah, we'll move on. So that was my mentality. So the big takeaways are: play major pentatonic scale over a major key, but you also can throw in some minor pentatonic scale over that same improvisation if a bluesy sound is appropriate for that song. And for this song, it's definitely appropriate. The singer sings in kind of a bluesy way at times, and the intro solo from the original recording has some bluesy flavor in it. So that gives you license to do it yourself. So major pentatonic scale is kind of the home base for me, and a minor pentatonic scale is a way to add some like spicy seasoning to all that. So that was my mentality. Again, I wasn't thinking about much of what I talked about here. That's all practice and training. And when I was performing, I was just playing. And this is the result. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for following me on this cringy ride. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them below and I'll get to them. All right, have a good one. Talk to you soon.